Hello and welcome to Ventana Wildlife Society's Condor Zoom chat, the last Thursday of every month. Next month, it'll be March 31st, the last day of the month. So glad that you're joining us today so we can keep up with the condors and hear from the field crew about the latest happenings. There's always interesting things going on, and that's why we love doing these Condor Zoom chats. So once again, thank you for being here today. Also, I just want to mention another big aspect of what we do is creating equitable access for youth in the outdoors. And we're really excited to be teaming up with the California State Parks at Andrew Malera State Park, where we've had an agreement there since 1992 to provide youth education. And we're really excited to develop an outdoor space, which we call the s'more, which is really fun because after all, when you go out with camps and youth programs, you often always end up eating a s'more. And s'more, in this case for us, stands for a space for meaningful outdoor recreation and education. We have an event on April 9 coming up at Tarpey's in Monterey. They're supporting the event by providing the food and drink. And the initial fundraising for that will go toward the development of this new outdoor space. So I just wanted to mention that, but of course, we're here today to talk Condor. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce Joe Burnett and the rest of the crew.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight and on this fine evening. Yeah, we have the whole crew here. We have a lot of exciting, I'm waiting on my slide here. Hang on a second. I'm sure that's working. There we go. Yeah, I have the whole crew here. I think we have everybody on the panel here. We have myself, Joe, Mike's on the Zoom tonight. Mike Stake, who coordinates our non-lead outreach. And then we have also the awesome stellar crew of wildlife biologists. Kara, I see you there, Danae, Darren, and Evan. And yeah, we still have our Condor interns on there. We miss them. They just wrapped up. Both Carolyn and Grayson have moved on to new projects, and we're really, really happy for them and wish them the best. But yeah, it's always bittersweet to see them move on, but it seems like they really gained a lot from their time with us. And also, I want to mention on this list, Tim Huntington, tracker extraordinaire, awesome photographer. You're going to see a lot of his photos today, per the usual. We just hate seeing Tim's photos. They're just so terrible. Yeah. Yeah, he took some amazing photos this round, so we're excited to share. And yeah, and everyone else at Ventana, we have a lot of folks here that are contributing in different ways. Yeah, on the left here are some photos of the crew. This, God, it's amazing what happens over the course of 4 weeks between these updates. We packed in a lot, and of course the condors kept us on our toes. And here on the left side, these photos here, the crew, we put up a new feeding enclosure out in a remote spot. We're hoping it's going to really help expand the birds into some new areas and offset some of the lead exposure. So we were excited to get that project done, and we started baiting that site. So we haven't seen any activity over there yet, but we're anxious and excited to see something happen. And we had snow yesterday. Amazing. We went from January fire to now we're back into the cold. And this is a photo off our Condor cam from the last couple of days. We've had some snow move in. And yeah, the weather it's been a wild winter, to say the least. It never ceases to amaze us, the variation weather. But yeah, it seems like we're getting back into the winter. Like, we hope we get a lot more moisture, obviously for the wildfire factor. But boy, it was really cool to see the snow. And the birds, of course, have to hunker down through the storm. But yeah, it's been pretty chilly up there. And condors are tough, though. They can handle all sorts of weather. So yeah, we're just excited to see the snow. Rebuild update. Yeah, we're cruising right along. again, we're just we're working on the finalizing the architectural plans and hoping to get those submitted. It's a tedious process, but we're definitely making some big headway. And the site prep is coming along, as I mentioned last update. And yeah, we're hoping to, keep things moving and break ground soon on construction of the new release pen. That's what we're prioritizing. And then, of course, the crew cabin over at our in our sanctuary. So San Simeon, Evan just came back from San Simeon, didn't you? Yeah, maybe anybody want to jump in on this? Maybe since you were just down there, Evan, you can give us all kind of a fresh update here.
Yeah, sure thing. I'm actually on my way back up to Monterey from San Simeon right now. It was awesome this week. We also had snow down there, so that was really exciting. I went to feed out on Tuesday night, and sure enough, I was out there in the snow carrying the cows out there and everything. Yeah, it was a nice week to view some Condor action down there too. 566 and 711 were around. There's all the rookies were around this week too. That was really exciting. We saw a Nico flying around, soaring in the sky, looking great.
Yeah, and yeah, looking at these photos, I know you and Kara have been taking some photos here, but we have 1036 Rosalie here, and then I can't tell the bird flying. I think it's a Nico there on the right.
Yeah, that's actually a Nico. I took those photos this week actually. 1036 was just hanging out on one of the snags. It was an old tree that had the top broken off, and was just posing for a beautiful picture. So it was awesome to see him.
I know those broken top trees are almost designed for condors. It seems like it's
Right.
like the top of a totem. They're just like they just fit perfectly on there. Oh, this is a great shot. We all saw this photo and voted this one had to go in the presentation.
Yeah, that's a picture of Nico as well. It's kind of a cool shot because I think it shows like what we see in the field. A lot of the times we're like in the middle of the woods, and we'll see just little glimpses of the birds. But something special about a Nico that I noticed this week was that she was watching my every move. If I went anywhere, she was watching me. She would never turn her back to me. The other bird's a little more comfortable, but she's still just keeping an eye on everything.
That's good. That's probably that wild nature she has, Boy, and Nico was the star of the show.
Yeah, sure was.
That would
Well, so
make
here's
a
our
great
map.
caption, like, it's that way.
Yeah. And of course, we got another great map from Evan. Evan, take it away here. You got a lot going on here, but looks awesome.
Yeah, I put this map together like we had last year. We were tracking the expansion of all of the newly released birds. Yeah, the birds are starting to spread out. We're about 4 months out from that original release date. So we're starting to see them move around a little bit. I pointed out on the map a couple like significant movements. The first happened back in January, and that was of 1036 was the first one to kind of move out from the immediate area of the release location, and I thought it was cool to see. It looked like 995 was venturing out with them, kind of showing her the ropes, and then later on, and earlier this month, like February 17th, I have 1019 and 1036 started to venture out together. They made it up to about Silver Peak Wilderness, and at that point they separated a little bit, but 1036 continued on, went north of Fort Hunter Liggett, but then circled right back around and is on carcasses the next day at San Simeon. So I thought this was just a good visualization to see how they're slowly starting to get situated in their new environment, and they're becoming a little more and more wild. So yeah, I think it's really awesome. We have this GPS data just to track their movements and, see where they're at. One thing I had to note was they're really quite on pace with last year's releases on how quickly they're moving out and working their way up towards Big Sur and Pinnacles National Park.
Very cool. Thanks, Evan, for putting that one together. And yeah, it looks like Rosalie's making the biggest jump. So yeah, that's exciting. And then Jane Goodall's right in there with her. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, this looks very similar to last year. But boy, yeah, that Rosalie was not too far from Big Sur. So just a hop, skip, and a jump, and she'll be there. So yeah, that should probably definitely happen by next month. Cool. Thanks, Evan. And we've had some other visitors down there. Yeah, I think this is a great photo on the left. I think is that 892?
That's actually 894.
894.
Yeah, that was also from this past week. It was actually one of those beautiful trees that condors like to hang out with. He was hanging out there around sunset, and sure enough, 566 comes in and chases him right off. But I got a cool shot of her flying off that roost tree. And yeah, I think 894 has been down there a lot this past month. 994s came down this week. I think 995 has been around, obviously. And another cool one I saw yesterday was 758 was down there.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, so God, look at that. Yeah, let's see. What do we got here? Any other visitors you guys want to mention that came down? I think those were the big ones, right? Yeah, so Yurok Redwood, they're still hanging out in the pen. We have some exciting news that these 4 birds will be heading north to the Yurok Redwood National Park collaboration release up there to their site in Northern California in mid-March. And so that will be their new home. And in terms of their release, I don't think it's been determined yet, but I assume within a couple months of them getting up there, but no official release date. But exciting that they're on their next, the next chapter of their journey is about to happen. And yeah, it's been long awaited. And, Ventana, we've been supporting that release site since the start. So we're really excited to help out. We've been honored to help out and hold their birds this year, and really looking forward to get them up there. I was fortunate to go up there a couple weeks ago and spend some time helping them finish up their pen. It's looking really great. It's in a beautiful spot. Hard to even describe in words. Really incredible area within Redwood National Park. And yeah, it's a awesome collaboration between the Yurok tribe and the National Park Service. So I went up to just help them hit the finish line. They're trying to finish up all the last minute pen stuff. These photos kind of capture it, but since I took these photos, they've actually got a lot of this stuff done. So have the pen almost 100% complete. So yeah, they're almost ready. So we're anxious to get them there. And again, really just happy to see this site come to fruition. And again, any part we can play in helping that has been awesome. So that was exciting. So now the flock is doing really well. We unfortunately had lost that bird last update we mentioned. We haven't lost any birds since then, which is always good. So the flock is still at 90 birds. We still have the fledged from 2021 at 6. Those birds all seem to be doing well. We still have the release birds out there at San Simeon, and Nico and the others. And we still have the 4 captive at San Simeon, the 4 Yurok birds. And again, just for the year end or for 2022 so far, we only have 1 death. And again, we're still waiting for the necropsy on 915 Artemis from last update. So we'll let you know when we know that information. But as of right now, we still don't know. Big news here. Obviously, a lot of concern about Junipero, number 663. Again, just to recap for folks, we noticed an injury on Junipero, a pretty severe leg injury to his foot area. It appeared he'd broken it back in September, and then in October we were getting we'd get periodic looks at Junipero. Actually, most of the time we saw him was on our live streaming cam. And we were able to see that the foot was intact, but it was necrotic, and it was definitely clearly broken. And then in December, we confirmed that the necrotic foot had actually fallen off, and it basically kind of cauterized itself and kind of a self-amputation, kind of amputated itself. And interestingly enough, this photo on the right, the lower left is when we first noticed it. And then on the right is a recent photo taken at Pinnacles. At their release pen, he showed up. He did not go in the pen, but he came and hung out on top of the trap, and they got a really good look at his amputated leg and confirmed that it healed up like we thought. So that's actually good news. We know that he's not fighting infection. It looks like, well, for the most part, we're pretty confident now that he's healed up and not fighting infection. And he looks like he's really getting stronger with that one foot. It's pretty amazing. And we have a video here showing this was taken by the Pinnacles crew, Aaron over at Pinnacles, at their release site, watching him. Again, this is a bird with one leg taking a bath. And it was really amazing to watch how well he was able to not only drink water, but get in there and bathe himself. So he's, again, we haven't seen, this is the first time we've seen a condor with one leg and seeing how they cope with the injury. But again, it's been a pretty amazing, hard to watch, but also amazing to see how resilient this bird has been. And he's been very elusive. He's come close to our traps and whatnot. And again, our feeling is that in captivity, he might actually not do nearly as well as he's probably doing in the wild, because of that injury actually would be just as bad in captivity. Again, just the functionality, he seems to be doing well out in the wild, so, and not in any pain at this point. So we're going to let it roll and basically just watch him as closely as we can. And if we see anything take a turn, we would probably try to catch him. But yeah, for now, it's looking pretty amazing. And we even, I'm trying to get to the next slide. Sorry, folks. Let's go to the next slide. There's another really good slide of, here we go. This is even more impressive. Big thanks to Callie Condor. She caught this on the live cam and made a short video, but it shows Junipero not only with one leg, but fending off a golden eagle off the carcass. And it's rare we even see birds with our healthy condors do this. So it was really, really impressive. And I'll let the video play out here. And again, that just shows you the resilience and the strength of condors. And again, he's able to feed, and he's negotiating life with this one leg. And again, incredibly impressive. We're going to continue to keep a close eye on it. And big thanks to everyone, especially the explore.org viewers who are watching the cams and catch these glimpses of 663 when he pops in and out. And again, we're watching something unfold here that's never been documented. And again, it just shows you the resilience of the species, resilience of Junipero, and just an incredible thing to watch. Let's get to the next slide. Keeps doing this. Sorry about that. Here we go. We got 995. Had another bird with a leg issue this month, and fortunately, this one turned out a lot better. The crew really got a glimpse of, maybe Kara, you can jump in here since you're the one holding the bird, and maybe explain the trap process of teach.
Yeah.
when he, yeah, so we,
Yeah, absolutely. So Danae and I went, my internet.
can you hear us?
I can, yeah, sorry. I just
Okay.
went in and out a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Danae and I went down to San Simeon and we put a carcass in the DDT. And then that next morning, I got up and kind of got in there before the sun came up and was just watching to see if he would go in there. And pretty soon after, he actually went in. So I was able to shut the door and we went in and netted him, which I think was on the Explorer camera. But then we did a whole look at his foot and his legs and kind of everything we could see. But obviously, we're not vets, so we didn't totally know. Like there was nothing obvious from the outside. So we were able to kennel him up and drive him up to Oakland Zoo, where they kind of did an intake, took a bunch of x-rays, did another physical exam, and then we're kind of waiting on blood work and for a radiologist to look at the x-rays. But they really concluded that it was probably a healed injury. And he was more stressed out in captivity than he would be in the wild. So they thought it was best for us to just kind of let him back out. So we kind of watched him in our DDT again and then let him back out. So he seems to still have a tiny bit of a limp, but pretty much he's good. He's feisty. He's ready to go.
Yeah, it was nice to get that peace of mind from the vet. You know, it's always nice to have the veterinarians really take a really close look to make sure it was nothing serious. And yeah, and kudos to you guys for pulling it off. It's not easy to catch a condor anytime, let alone get them up to a clinic to to get them examined. So here's the reward of all that work. Kara's letting them go here. I think Evan's on camera, so we'll give Evan credit for shaky cam. But he was happy to get out, I think, right?
You're all excited. Yeah, the hands are crumbling.
Yeah, he did not want to be in my arms for a second longer. So I was like walking out there and I was like, he's going, guys. Like, I got to let him go. He was like kicking me and I just had to let him go. So he was ready.
Yeah, so it's really a nice peace of mind to know he's doing okay. And yeah, we've seen it over the years. We've seen birds get injuries like that, and they call them soft tissue injuries a lot of times. Basically a really bad bruise. You know, condors in the wild, sometimes they land on perches, get entangles with other condors, with golden eagles. Anything can happen that can, just like when you pull a muscle or you know, pull a hamstring, it's the same thing for condors. They have to recover. But you know, it's nice that we're able to get a look at him and give him the green light to go back out. So big thanks to Oakland Zoo. Really, really important partner. Glad to have them for this aspect of condor work, to a place to take these birds to look at. And of course, LA Zoo has always helped us in that manner too. So, all right, keeps doing this. Here we go. Oh, and this was another bonus. Since we were in trap mode, we're like, okay, if Mike's bird needs new transmitters. He's been stealth for how long, Darren?
It's been over 2 years. I'm pretty sure he was stealth for. So yeah, he was due.
So you can walk us through this. How'd that go?
Yeah. So, I mean, it started with our intern, Carolyn, was able to trap him the very next day after 995 trapped down there at San Simeon. So that next morning, you know, I woke up thinking it might be a day or two until we got 566 in the trap. But, you know, pretty early in the morning, Carolyn texted all of us saying that she trapped 566. So we went down the next day to handle him. He had not been handled in almost 4 years. So but he remembered the process well. He was very wily and crafty in avoiding us, but we were able to get him in hand. And once he was in hand in our laps, he settled down pretty quick. But yeah, we got a new radio transmitter on him, so he is no longer stealth. We are able to track him again. And yeah, I mean, he as I said, he was pretty calm in hand, but he was also very ready to go when he knew the end was near. So it was exciting to get that on him and get a new tag and new radio transmitter on him. But it was also cool to let him go and see him flying out there again with with brand new transmitters and tags and all.
I think that was a cool ending to Carolyn's internship too, you know, because 566 had been so elusive, you know, and she was able to catch him, you know, right at the end of her internship. I remember she was pretty excited for sure.
Yeah, that was a great way for her to cap everything off, especially a bird like 566 who she had seen pretty much every day for the past 6 months or so. To be able to watch the process of him getting handled and help with putting new transmitters on and everything was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, for folks tuning in, know the part of our monitoring, we put these transmitters on the birds, and they do have life. They do have a life expectancy, the transmitters. So when they go dead, we like to obviously replace them. Those transmitters are just really important, not only to, as you saw Evan's maps, tracking their movements, but it's also really important for us to check their status every day. And if they did get into trouble or get sick, or worst case, if they did die, these are the ways we would actually find them. So keeping new transmitters on the birds is really critical to understanding, especially if we lose a condor, why we lost it. So again, it's not something we do that often, but it is for every bird. It's probably every other year on average. And then sometimes transmitters die a little early, and we trap the bird maybe every year. So yeah, it's a great opportunity to get the birds in hand to kind of not only do that, switch out the ID tags, take a blood sample that we submit for long-term research on lead poisoning and lead exposure. And then also sometimes we collect feathers, which are also being used in the in our research. So yeah, it's just, we take advantage of the opportunity when we do get to handle these birds. And again, we're extremely we know the birds are being stressed by the situation, so we go to great measures to make it easier on them and get them out. But they're always happy to go out at the end. All right, Darren, you can give us an update on these guys.
Yeah, so a lot of things have been kind of holding steady, but a lot of these fledglings we've been just seeing more and more of. They're venturing out from their nesting areas a little more and starting to get to our feeding sites. So for instance, you know, in the past week or two, we saw 2 untagged fledglings from this last nesting cycle up at our Big Sur site. And that was the first time that's happened so far this year, I'm pretty sure. And we'll get to some photos of that later. But yeah, just running down the individuals real quick. 1077, that was the chick from Junipero, and then 438, his partner who passed away this past summer. Again, we haven't seen that chick still, but we're remaining hopeful. It's encouraging seeing Junipero doing better, because if 1077 is still doing well out there, that means that Junipero is also in a better care for him too, as he makes his way to the feeding sites, hopefully. Condor 1089 is doing great, spending more time on the coast. We're pretty sure that bird's been up to our Big Sur site with its parents. Same with 1095, that we're pretty sure that bird's been up there as well. And I think 1104 has been up there too. So yeah, a lot of the birds that we've seen more frequently, these last 3 of the Big Sur chicks, they all seem to have made their way to Big Sur at this point. And yet nothing, no significant updates on the 2 chicks from Pinnacles from last year, 1078 and 1096, but everything we're hearing about them is that they're doing great out there over at Pinnacles. Yeah, this was a photo from Tim Huntington of 1089, who's kind of a local celebrity there in this area of Big Sur along Highway 1, spending a lot of time with its parents, Amigo and Kodama, but also getting a lot of FaceTime with people, tourists, us biologists. We see this bird a lot now on the coast and some of our more frequently used tracking areas. So it's looking good. Definitely doing better with flying and getting around, but still spending a lot of time with the parents.
Yeah, and they've led 1089 to right below where 1089 is. The cliff below, at the base of that cliff, the ocean is an area the condors like to visit to find dead sea lions. So we've seen the chick follow mom and dad to the spot, which is really what you want. You want mom and dad passing on the knowledge of where to find food on their own. And I think we've had some other Condor visitors in this zone recently too. Right, Darren? Who else was trying to remember? Was some other of the wild flock popped in up here? But yeah, so 1089 is getting around.
Yeah, definitely. I know, I'm not sure about how recently this was, but I know some other of the parents from last year, like Condor 652 and 550, they've been hanging around Sea Lion Cove every now and then, getting food down there as well. So
that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
It's definitely a hot spot for a lot of our Big Sur resident birds. And these are just some awesome additional photos of 1089 that Tim Huntington got.
I just want to jump in here for a second because people that might have just tuned in or didn't really catch all of those details about Junipero, that bird is just a very special case. For all of you watching, I just want to make sure you know, not only has this bird lost one leg, but he also lost his mate and still trying to raise a chick in the wild. I mean, that is just extraordinary.
Yeah,
absolutely extraordinary. And I just want to make sure that everyone here watching knew those facts.
Yeah, good point, Kelly. Good reminder. Yeah, he's an inspiration for sure. You know, I mean, I'm amongst the crew here that we're blown away at how well. I mean, it was looking a little dicey there for a while, and to see him come out of it like he is, and not only that, flushing off a golden eagle from a carcass and really reestablishing himself. I mean, this is uncharted territory for condors that we've seen. And yeah, Tim Huntington goes here, folks. This is as good as it gets, if you ask me. You know, an untagged wild fledged bird flying along the Big Sur coast. I mean, it doesn't get any more majestic than that. I mean, this is the epitome of, you know, what we see as success for this project is more birds out there untagged, you know, thriving on the Big Sur coast. And 1089 definitely captures that. And thank you, Tim, for these awesome photos. It really captures the magic of what we see down there. And oh yeah, we definitely, this is our last update, but we definitely have 2 untagged chicks that have recently shown up at the site. Our Explorer viewers have been definitely excited as well. It's nice when you have 2 untagged show up, because you pretty much know it's 2 of the 4 in Big Sur on the coast that have shown up. And I think right now we're leaning towards one of them being this chick, 1095, right? And the other, we believe, is either 1089 or 1104. And again, this is the chick that fledged down at Big Creek. This is a photo we showed last time. So since these photos were taken, this is what we've seen recently. This is from the cam within the last week. These two untagged chicks have shown up, and they're pretty feisty. And the time I watched, they were scrapping with each other, and obviously they're on the outskirts. They're a little lower in the pecking order in terms of their order to feed, but it was interesting to see them interact, and they are definitely pretty competitive with each other. They weren't chummy by any means, so it was pretty interesting. But bets are right now. Danae, what would you say? Definitely, would you say 1104 and 1090? I'm sorry, 1095. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think in this specific case, we do think that this was 1095 and 1104. I think Tim was out coast tracking the same day that this footage was taken, and he had a visual of 1089 with 204 and 646. So because of the timing and how it worked out, we can know for sure that neither one of these birds is 1089. And so our best guess is that it's 1104 and 1095. Of course, one of them could always be 1077. It's definitely possible, but I believe you can see 652 actually in that photo. So he's there, and then I believe 538 was also there feeding on the slope when these pictures were taken too. So seems likely that it's those two birds, but definitely could always be the wild card, 1077 too.
Yeah, super exciting. I mean, this is the ultimate when, and I remember we always give everyone the heads up on the folks who watch the cams to say, hey, when you see these untagged show up. So big thanks to all the Explore viewers. Right when these birds showed up, they were they were posting and letting everybody know that our wild chicks had shown up. So hopefully we get a third and a fourth there, and that would confirm that 1077 maybe made it. Again, seeing what 653 Junipero is doing so far, I would not be surprised if that chick actually survived and he was able to pull it off. So he keeps surprising us. So I would not be shocked. All right. Darren, you want to take this, or Danae or somebody?
Yeah, I can start out, and then I'll pass the baton to the other biologists as we go through. But yeah, a bit of an update here on this current nesting cycle. We just started the 2022 nesting cycle. So there are two pairs over at Pinnacles that we suspect have eggs. Nothing confirmed, but it does seem like Condor 330 and Condor 317 have started based on GPS data, and similarly for Condor 700 and 726. So that's really exciting. We haven't seen any strong nesting behavior yet here in Big Sur, but I've listed 4 potential pairs here that seem like they could go at any time. Yeah, and that's 477 Phoenix and 190 Redwood Queen. Also 209 Shadow and 171 Traveler, 168 Beat Boy and 208 Solo, and then also a new addition and one that we think is perhaps pretty new, but male 729 Ninja and Pinnacles female 828. Yeah, so just getting right into some of these. Oh yeah, just real quick, there are 2 other pairs from Pinnacles that we suspect could go in nest this year, and that's 800 and 747 Boeing, and then also 340 and 236 Tiny. Yeah, so just getting into some of those first 2 pairs I mentioned over at Pinnacles that we suspect have eggs. So these are just photos of those 2 birds, Condor 330 and Condor 317, and then also here's 700 displaying the 726. So yeah, we're excited to get further updates on them as their nesting progresses. Yeah, so a quick update on Redwood Queen and Phoenix. We actually, me, Joe, and Kara hiked out to the Redwood nests yesterday, and we couldn't see any nesting activity or signs of nesting at the tree yet. But we're hopeful that that will happen soon. And so the nest cam went live today on explore.org, so you can start tuning into that and seeing for yourself if 477 and 190 come in and start nesting activity. And again, a big shout out to the explore.org viewers who are really on top of that and definitely help us out in getting those updates and getting that information on these 2. Yeah, and another update, it's this time of year while all these birds are going through courtship, we do see some interesting interactions, and 209 from another one of the potential pairs I previously mentioned here is displaying to Condor 190 while her mate 477 is right there. So yeah, 209 is no shame. He will he'll display to anything he thinks is worthy of his presence. He's very full of himself. We love that bird. Yeah, a pair that's a little older and hasn't nested for a while, but we might be seeing some signs of nesting are 168 and 208 Solo. So yeah, Danae or Kara, I know you pointed this out to me the other day. Some interesting information. So if you guys want to jump in here and explain what you guys noticed and observed.
Sure, I can jump in and go ahead. And then if you want to add anything, Kara, feel free to jump in. Yeah, so 168 and Solo are kind of two of the older birds in our flock, and they've definitely been a pair for many years now, and they're pretty reliably seen together at the feeding sites. And independently of that, we signal them together a lot. We pick up their signals together, which is another indication they're a pair. And then recently on February 6th, you can see that date up there. We started seeing 168, who's the male of that pair, show up at the feeding site by himself. And that kind of can be a good indication that 208, the female, could potentially be, picking her site and starting to lay an egg. It usually nesting starts with the female laying the egg, and she'll usually incubate it for a couple days, and then the male will take over. And that's a pattern that we see with these guys, with 168 being present and then 208 showing up, but the 168 being absent, and probably switching out incubation duty. So it's definitely, a tentative guess. It's not concrete, but it's definitely a encouraging pattern that we look for when we're looking for breeding behavior and potential egg laying dates. And so hopefully we'll be able to hike around, look for that nest and find that nest if it is indeed a nest, and really just keep an eye on who's showing up at the camera, and if they're still showing up separately or together. And so that's the Explore camera, and all of you Explore viewers have been really helpful in that respect too. So yeah, pretty exciting, and hopefully we'll be able to confirm a nest or confirm non-nesting too, either way by the next update or beyond. So yeah, pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, this pair has been together since 2007, so they're coming up on 15 years this year that they've been together. Just not only are they long-lived, but they have long relationships. So this is one of our longest running Condor pairs in the wild. So we're excited if they can pull it off again this year. They like to nest in a really remote region, so we have some adventure in front of us if we're going to find their nest.
They're just trying to get away from you and the crew. That, right? Yeah. They're just making your job harder.
Exactly. Yeah. They're like, here they come again. Let's find a more remote spot. But yeah, we're excited. 208's produced a lot of eggs in the wild. Potential pairs. Yeah, here's some more. What's going on here? Looks like some drama.
Yeah, I think this is from our last update too, but it's just another good photo of 168 and 208 hanging out at the bait site there. They're both in the bottom right corner there, and some other prospective males kind of looking on as 168 displays to 208. So they were still being seen together, and now they're being seen solo, but pretty cool pair. We like them a lot.
Yeah, I guess I could take this one since you took the last one. But this is kind of the same situation as Danae was just talking about. 171 and 209 were on the cam like together all the time. And then recently only 209 was showing up. So we kind of suspect the same thing as 208 and 168. So we're thinking she might be on the nest or at the nest, but again, we don't know for sure. And also with both of these females and males, we don't have GPS on them. So we're kind of all going off of just visuals and then radio signals as well. So once we start kind of looking for those nests, we're going to be going totally on like radio telemetry.
Yeah, some of her older previously used nest sites. So we're going to start there and see if we can't find her at one of those. Oh, here we go. More. Is this from last time or is this new stuff?
Yeah, this is new, but we always think these sorts of events are kind of fun to share with everyone. So this is a female 171 traveler displaying to another female Condor 747 Boeing, who we think could potentially nest over at Pinnacles this year. And yeah, I had seen 171 do this prior to this instance, so it was just interesting to see her display to another female. But it's really cool. I mean, it's just, another one of these things about the birds that just
so interestingly
just
enough,
keep us hooked.
Darren, the background to 171, when I was at Oregon Zoo helping with the captive breeding up there, we had a pair up there, Tama and Mandan. Tama was the female, and she's one of the founders. She's one of the original wild birds that was brought in the 80s for captive breeding. So she was one of the original wild flock, and that's 171's mom. And one of the things she did that was separated her from other females was display to her mate. So actually was talking to Mike Clark about it, and he said, I bet you, she's related to Tom. And I was like, oh, that's right, Tama would do that. So it was really cool to see this genetic connection. Maybe it has something, maybe it's something that's passed on from mom. But yeah, Tama was very unique for displaying to her mate in captivity. So pretty cool.
Yeah, this was just awesome to see, especially with 209 there too. I mean, maybe she's displaying to him, but yeah, it was just cool to get that.
It's cool too, because I know 171, maybe Joe, you could give more information about this too, but I believe 171 is nested with a female before and successfully raised a chick. So seems like she's definitely interested in 747 coming over. It's kind of a female that she probably doesn't see that often. So it's kind of cute to see together.
Yeah, she successfully raised a chick with 317. We found out later the dad was 242, who's deceased now. But yeah, it was interesting. He died while we believe they were a trio, and he died during obviously when the nest was happening, and the two females stuck together and finished raising that chick, which was pretty amazing. And that was the first time we documented that in the wild. Yeah, so and 317 is now nesting over in Pinnacles, so it's all interconnected. But yeah, it's she's there's something to be said for the trio thing for condors. It's definitely more common than we ever thought. And is she recruiting another female to join her as a trio with 209 possibly?
Yeah, and this is a relatively new pair that we've identified as at least has potential, could potentially nest here on the coast. I think Evan actually was looking into this and came up with a lot of the data and information on this. So Evan, if you want to explain, man, take it away.
Yeah, sure. One of the cool things about 828, as we might know from last year, she does have a GPS unit on her. So tracking nesting behavior with GPS is really cool, because we can see which areas on the map that they're repeatedly going back and forth to and staying at for extended periods of time. And there's one spot in particular in Big Sur that seems like it would be a nice nesting habitat that 828 has taken an interest to. We can't say for sure if she's nesting there, but she's definitely getting really curious. We know there's redwoods in this cove that she's been hanging out in and everything. So we've been watching that really closely, and hoping something comes of it. So
very cool.
I just want to jump in here. I bet you there's a bunch of our viewers that are right now really pleased that Ninja is not with Redwood Queen. Am I right?
Yeah, he rattled things up after the Dolan fire, that's for sure.
Yeah, people might not, maybe not everyone knows that story, but yeah, Ninja took advantage of Kingpin's absence, the mate of Redwood Queen, and tried to take over. But Redwood Queen didn't have any part of it. It was great.
Yep, she held her own for sure. Yeah, it looks like a lot of other available bachelorettes.
Yeah, this is just this in the next few slides, just kind of summarizing. I think we showed a lot of this the last update too, but this is just a summary of the birds that have come into breeding age that we're keeping an eye on for potentially pairing. And a number of these birds we have seen displaying or being involved in courtship behaviors. So we're really excited. 650, I think, might be a new addition. We've seen him display to a few females more recently, but yeah, there are a lot of birds that are kind of turning the corner, a lot of potential for nesting in new pairs. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, definitely. It's some of these birds coming of age. We could definitely have some surprises this year. Yeah, and 219, of course, he's one of our more experienced males. It'd be really interesting to see who he decides to nest with. Hopefully this year he'll figure that out.
Yeah, I think we might have a slide on that here. Yep. Yeah. So I know we showed this last time too, but a quick update on the 219 happenings with 538 and 574. So 538 and 574 are a pair that a few times they actually nested and successfully raised 1104 this past nesting cycle. But it seems like recently that 219 has been displaying a lot to 538, and she has been she's interested. She's followed him back to his territory, and they are seen together on the camera pretty frequently. It seems like maybe the displaying has slowed down a little bit between them, but hard to really say if that means much at this point. But always the other fun twist here is that 574 is actually a previous chick of 219. So just a fun little love triangle we've got going on.
Another day in Condor life, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. To the end of our update, just a reminder, our next Zoom chat is March 31st, the last Thursday of March, same time, 4 p.m. Pacific time. And this is a good time to, Mike, to let us know if we have any questions.
Joe, there are always questions, aren't there?
Yeah.
Let's start off with an easy one for you from Jay. What's the battery life on the transmitters?
Yeah, so the radios, we've been getting much longer life out of the new, obviously they're improving them, and we have a newer model of transmitter that is solar powered. They're lasting at a minimum 3 to 4 years, hopefully longer. So yeah, and then the GPS, sometimes it's not necessarily they go dead, but they need an update or they need to be an antenna fixed but yeah, the GPS, we tend to get 2 to 3 years out of these tags. And again, sometimes radio tags, the battery's not dead, but the antenna got ripped off, or, there's always something going on. But yeah, we tend to get on average, we try to get at least 2 years out of the radios and 3 to 4 years out of the GPS.
Very good. Is it correct to assume that the Yurok tribe will name the birds that they release there? Ventana Wildlife Society is not naming those birds. Is that correct?
Yeah, we are not naming them, and I don't know what their plans are for naming. I don't know if they will. That ball's in their court. It's something we do to help identify the individuals. They're kind of because they each, we recognize that all these birds have individual personalities and individual stories. So it's something we do, but not all the sites do it. Yeah, I honestly don't know what their plans are.
Mm-hmm. A question for either Danae or Darren, let's say. Is there any evidence from what you've seen that Redwood Queen and Aniko have met since Aniko's release back into the wild?
Yeah, Danae, you want to take that?
Sure. Yeah, we haven't yet seen them interact together. We haven't been able to confirm that visually. It does seem possible that definitely could have happened. 190 doesn't have a GPS on her, so it's hard to say with certainty if she's been heading down towards San Simeon. We know Aniko's definitely done some exploratory flights, as Evan showed in his map. He's definitely, branched out a little bit and flown a little bit farther away from the release site, but she hasn't made it all the way up to Big Sur yet. But it's definitely possible that 190's made it down there to see her, but we don't know for sure, and we haven't been able to confirm that visually. But definitely at some point in the future, it'll definitely happen. I think once these pre-release birds or released birds start making it up to the Big Sur feeding site for sure. Yeah, 190 definitely, as a lot of the cam viewers know, likes to hang out in that area and take advantage of the feeding slope. So it's definitely possible that they would meet there, and everyone will be able to watch that on camera.
Okay, we'll stay tuned. A question I think I want to open up to anyone on the panel. It comes from Patricia in San Diego. Patricia, thanks for joining us, and thank you for this thoughtful question. Do you ever think that we are breeding condors knowing that many will be poisoned with lead? Should we resolve lead bullet issue before releasing more birds? And when I was going to school, the textbook response was clean up the environment first and then release the animal back into the environment. But I know with condors, that step really couldn't happen for full satisfaction because of the timing issue. Condors had to get back to the wild while they still remembered how to be condors. Certainly our bald eagle reintroduction was a success back in the 80s and early 90s because the DDT problem had much improved. And so the environment was more hospitable to the eagles that we were releasing. And I know U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service makes the decision on what condors are released and what the strategy is for that. But Joe or anyone else, do you have any comments about the release question and the lead issue?
Yeah, I think the other issue too is the lead poisoning issue wasn't completely understood when they pulled all the wild birds in. They knew it was a mortality threat, but we didn't really know the full extent of it until we actually started releasing birds. And at that point, we already had established wild flocks. And obviously the approach was to stick with releasing and start to work on the lead issue problem, the lead exposure problem. So that's kind of where, my recollection of how we got to where we're at. And again, now we're here, we have this wild flock we want to protect. So it's really pushing forward, especially with what you're doing, Mike, getting the free non-lead ammunition out there and getting folks to switch. And we know that will get us to the finish line. If we can get folks using the non-lead ammo, and we can rid the lead on the landscape for the give the condors a nice clean space.
Yeah, and I just want to add too that it's just not practical. I mean, we have how many birds in the wild now? I mean, there's nowhere to put them. I mean, it's just not feasible to pull them all in. And I think Joe's absolutely right. We need to focus on the underlying problem, like we have been, outreach, providing non-lead ammunition in areas where there's statutes that may or may not help. There's other areas that don't have statutes, but regardless, we need to help people switch to using non-lead ammunition. That's the real key here. It's just not an option to go backwards. There's nowhere to put these wild birds except the wild.
Yep.
Yeah, and I know all of the different agencies and organizations that are involved in the recovery effort really collaborate and communicate on a regular basis. And part of that strategizing has been actually running scientific models as to what the approach should be for getting to our goal of a self-sustainable population. And those models have indicated that releases and working with hunters and ranchers on the lead issue are the most important factors for really recovering the population. So the releases do go hand in hand with the non-lead outreach, but we do really see the issue there with the lead issue and the risk that it poses to the birds that are being released into the wild. Any more comments or thoughts on that before I move on to another question?
No, great question.
Yeah. And I think you answered Tiffany's question, how many condors are in the Big Sur area that are not tagged? Did we get an answer to that? Was it 2 or could there be more?
Oh no, at least, well, 1077 is actually 4. We know for sure 3, possibly 4 untagged in Big Sur right now.
Mm-hmm. And I guess one last question from Terry in Carmel Valley. It has to do with more of an identification question. If you're out there condor watching. Terry wants to know about identification of the juvenile condors. We know that the adults have those big, nice white triangle patches on the underside of the wing. Do we see that with the juveniles? And am I looking on the screen at a subadult bird and what we might expect with those white triangles? What does that look like in the field?
Yeah, I mean, this is the slide on the photo on the left here almost captures it. This is a bird in transition to adulthood, a subadult. So the wings would be a little darker underneath than this, but you would still see the outline of the white triangle. And again, the darker head, it would still be identifiable. It just wouldn't be a stark white. The adults have the real clear, very clearly outlined white triangles under each wing, and the brilliant head. So yeah, I think the photo on the left there kind of captures it. I was trying to think in the slideshow today if I had one and I could go back to, but
actually the perfect slide I think was that one of a Nico with its wing held out, pointing the way. And I think you would see on that picture that the white feathers underneath the wing have these dark sort of charcoaly centers to them. So they're just sort of fading into white as they age. And so from a distance, a juvenile condor can be hard to see those white triangles, but as the bird ages, those
for sure
become pretty clear. Maybe I'll throw out one last question, because this comes from Ecuador.
Wow.
We don't often get questions from Ecuador. So let me pose this from Elizabeth in Ecuador. Do we know the relation between California condors and Andean condors?
They're in the same family. So they're basically close cousins, similar to turkey vultures. All the New World vultures. Name a few, Mike.
Well, yeah, I was looking at a study in which I recall the Andean condor and the California condor and the king vulture are actually in a same phylogenetic group. So those three are the most closely related of the New World vultures. And then the other group contains all of the others, the turkey vulture, black vulture, and so forth. And so yeah, the Andean condor and California condor are close related, but their populations are obviously disjunct, a little bit different habitat. Andean condor is a slightly bigger bird by wingspan, and but otherwise quite similar. Thanks so much, everyone, for your questions and for joining us on this webinar. I think our next one is March 31st. Is that the last Thursday of next month? Can we confirm that? There we go. And thanks, everyone. I'll throw it to you, Joe, for any last words for our webinar thanite.
Yeah, thanks, Mike, as always, for handling all the questions. That was cool to have one from Ecuador. That was pretty awesome. Just thanks to everyone. That's all you that have been watching and supporting. Again, we keep giving a shout out to the Explore viewers, but also to an awesome crew and all the folks I get to work with. We everyone's working hard trying to achieve this goal and watching after these birds and getting them to where they need to be. So a lot of effort out there. And again, to all our collaborators, really excited about the UROC and Redwood National Park project coming up here and getting those 4 birds we have up there. I can't even tell you, it's been a long time coming. So I'm as excited as they are to get them up there. And it's really cool to see the tribes involved now with Condor recovery, and look forward to that. Yeah, a lot of exciting stuff coming up, and obviously the rebuild, we're pushing ahead, and look forward to keeping everybody updated. And again, thank you to everyone, and especially the crew. Thanks, everyone. Good night.